to this segment of Key's Clubhouse, the segment of Key's Corner where we're talking nothing but straight sports. Look, I wasn't planning on coming back and talking about the NBA this soon, but the NBA just dropped their top 75 players of all time to celebrate 75 years of the NBA. So I kind of wanted to talk about it, some of the snubs, some of the people that were in the top 10, and some of the people that were left off the list completely, and some of the people that made the list. I wanted to kind of talk about that. So their top 10 players, ESPN dropped the top 10 players of all time. I don't really have a problem with who made the list in the top 10. As a matter of fact, I think they got the top 10 right. I'll go ahead and put it up here. They got Jordan at the 1, which there ain't no argument. Jordan got that number 1 spot. If you're one of the ones that think LeBron got that too, got that number 1, quit playing yourself. Jordan at the 1, ain't no arguments there. But I'm not a complete LeBron hater. I do respect him. I will give him the number 2. I do think he deserves it. I think a lot of people would put Kobe at the 2 spot, but no, I've got to give God rest Kobe. So I got to give it to LeBron. But the issue I do have is having Kareem at the 3. I'd put Kobe at the 3 and push Kareem back to that 4 spot. For the rest of them, for the rest of the order, I think for the most part they got it right. Yeah, I think they pretty much got that top 10 right, other than those few changes that I would make. But the ones I want to talk about, some people were upset. There was a huge push for people upset that like Dwight Howard didn't make the list. Some people were upset that, if you watch the AI versus T-Mac battle, people were upset that T-Mac didn't make it. But there were some questionable people on that list that I don't think were deserving of getting it. I think one of the ones, and people will hate me for this, and now full disclaimer, I will say this. He is one of my favorite players playing in the game right now, but I don't think he's deserving of being in the top 75 list. That's Damian Lillard. I found this meme going around and I fact checked it. It is true. It is hard to argue his spot in the top 75 when you think about it like this. In reality, I don't think Dame's done enough. I don't think Dame's done enough to warrant having a top 75 spot. And it sucks to say because he's a great player on and off the court, one of the most clutch players of all time. So I hate to say it, but I would have to take Dame out. Dame is one of those, it sucks to do it, but I think you got to do it. I think you got to take him out. So if you take him out, that leaves an extra spot. So there's a lot of people that didn't make the list that people were saying, should make the list. I'll put the graphic up here for everybody to check it out. T-Mac was one of them. Chris Bosh, Dwight Howard, Kyrie Irving, Manu Ginobili, Pau Gasol, Paul George, Tony Parker, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, and Vince Carter. Who do you put in that spot? Well, that's what I want to talk about here today. I think right off the bat, I think you can take Kyrie Irving out. Kyrie Irving, he's an NBA champ, one of the best handles of all time. But has he done enough? I don't think he's done enough. You can't measure best handles of all time. And him having chip, maybe he would have had an argument had he had won the Finals MVP. Yes, we all know they probably wouldn't have won that championship in Cleveland without his clutch shot, but that's about it. That's about as far as it goes. He's a great, great player, but I just don't think he's done enough. The same thing can be said with Paul George. Paul George, great player, just hasn't done enough. Yes, he carried the Pacers to the playoffs, and he's played great for the Clippers, but, what has he done? Hasn't really done anything, no real accolades to his name. The same thing can be said about Chris Bosh. Chris Bosh had a great career in Toronto and then went and won some chips in Miami. I just don't think he was dominant. I think he was more dominant in in Toronto than he was in Miami, but I don't think he ever led the league in anything. I don't think he had that type of career, and then unfortunately, it was cut short due to his blood clots. I don't think he did enough. Same thing with Draymond Green. Draymond Green is a great player. As a matter of fact, with all these players that I'm going to list, I might put him at the bottom of this list from all of them. Draymond, I like him. Hated him initially, but he's grown on me. He's a great player. Always flirts with triple doubles, but his averages just aren't high enough to warrant him up there. Few-time NBA champ. I want to say he's like a 3-time NBA champ. A couple of defensive player of the years. But other than that, I mean, again, compared to some of these others on the list, just not enough. Vince Carter, one of the most electrifying players of all time, but what has he done? Dunk contest or playing good in the Olympics. That's pretty much all he's ever done. He's never really had any individual accolades other than jumping high and having some sweet dunks. And I hate to say that because I love Vince. I love Insanity, but just didn't do enough. Same thing can be said, and this is one of my all-time favorite players, Tracy McGrady. T-Mac. I had T-Mac jerseys. I had all the T-Mac shoes. Just didn't do enough. I mean, suffered from injury battled injuries off and on in the later stages of his career. Always flirting with triple doubles himself. Very, very underrated player. Just doesn't crack the list for me amongst these other ones. We're going to get into the harder choices right now. Dwight Howard, that's the one that everybody was really lobbying for to make that list. He accomplished a lot early on in his career. I think he had 3 back-to-back Defensive Player of the Years. He's an all-time leading rebounder, not the all-time, but I think he's up there. In blocks and rebounds. I think he was a Rookie of the Year, if I'm not mistaken. He's had a great career, and it's still, a lot of people writ him off early on in his career. He's bounced around. He's kind of become a journeyman, but you know what? He's carved out a niche for himself. I've grown to respect him. Grown to respect his game. But amongst these others that are on the list, for example, I'll go. Let's see. Next one I'm going to talk about. I'll say. Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili. You got to pair those together. Those two had careers that are nearly identical, and not just because they're on the same team, but if you look up their stats, a lot of their stats were alike. They've had great careers, not just in the NBA, but for their countries, France and Argentina. They both won. One had very good, successful Olympic careers with France and Argentina. Manu won gold the same year that he won the NBA championship, which I believe was 2014, which that's an amazing accomplishment. Everything that he did in the NBA, he's done. He's matched starter level statistics, and he did it as a 6-man for his entire career. He's one of my all-time favorite players also. I'd have to put him in there. Tony Parker, he's 5-time champ, 4 or 5. I think he's a 4-time champ, and a Finals MVP. That Finals MVP is probably what pushes him over a little bit over Manu. Hate to say that, but I just don't think when it comes to this top 75 list, I don't think I would put Tony in there. Because remember, we got to go through straight NBA accolades, and I just don't think all of their accolades, Manu and Tony's, a lot of their accolades are outside of the NBA as well. But I think as far as NBA accolades, they just don't have enough to crack this list. So it comes down to Pau Gasol and Klay Thompson in that top 75 list. And that's tough because Klay Thompson, one of the best shooters of all time, possibly the second or third best shooter of all time. I think at this point in time right now, he's probably third best behind Reggie Miller. It'd be Steph, Reggie, and then Klay. Klay might have already have leapfrogged Reggie Miller if he had not been injured for the past 2 years. He's got a lot of, he's got some chips, and he's got a lot of individual three-point records. If I'm not mistaken, I think Steph's already broke those too. So really, what does Klay have other than the chips? He's always gotten kind of overshadowed by Steph. And just when we say that, Klay always goes out Like, it seems like every time Clay gets overshadowed, he goes out and somehow finds a way to one-up Steph. But ultimately, Steph always finds a way to come back and kind of one-up him. It's the good thing about the Splash Brothers. They are definitely entertaining. I just don't think Clay has enough individual accolades in the NBA other than his chips to warrant the top 75. So that leaves me with Pau Gasol. Pau Gasol is I want to say a 3-time champ. Lots of individual accolades. He also won I think he won a gold medal with Spain before in the Olympics. His stats are great. Probably, I'd say individual stats. I could be wrong, but I think his individual stats are probably the best on this list. But 3-time champ, came up with Kobe on that Lakers squad, and that's pretty much the best basketball that he played of his career was with the Lakers and Kobe. And that's when he got his chips. But I think individually, stat-wise, his are the best. So I'd have to put him there. One of the best passing big men of all time. So I'm going to say that. I just had to speak my piece about this top 75 because there probably is some others that I'm forgetting that need to come off of that list, but Dame Lillard was one of those other ones. I know some people were upset that James Harden made it. I'm not, honestly. I think James Harden, statistically, he's up there. He's earned it. No matter how he got it, some people, say he relied on fouls. You can't take, that's one thing that you can't do. You can't take the stats away. And that's what I'm saying is the difference between somebody like him and Kyrie Irving. Like, Kyrie Irving's stats just aren't there because he just hasn't played enough. He hasn't done enough individually. But James Harden's stats are there. You can't take that away from him. The same thing with Damian Lillard. Like, Damian Lillard's stats are there, but he doesn't have anything, like, to his name. And that's what sucks. So I'd pull Damian Lillard, pull Pau Gasol. To be honest, I think before I even came on here, I didn't even, looking at this list, I don't even think that I would come up with Pau Gasol. But after going through it and explaining it, that's who I landed on. And I'm okay with that. Y'all let me know in the comments who you think should have been held off the list and who should have been put on. Was I spot on putting Pau Gasol in there? Was there anybody else that I didn't discuss that you felt like needed to be at least in the discussion? Let me know. I'm Keith, and you just got cornered.